What's up guys, it's your host Spartanic Arts DxD back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have What If Issei Was Overpowered part 14. Let's try to hit 500 or 600 likes again, and if you guys want to know exactly when I upload, such as my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button. But before I do anything at all, I'm going to need you to pay attention for a second. So all the series that are coming back are going to be obviously What If Naruto was betrayed, What If Goku was too overpowered is going to be coming, and then What If Issei was trapped in the dimensional gap, along with the new Issei betrayal story with the fanfic. I have those all in the works. It's just taking a while because I am currently training my ass off because I got something to prove. All right, I'm coming back in blood when I come back to this track. I'm telling you that. But yeah, that's why the uploads are kind of like, well, that's why those series are taking a little bit, is because when I come back, I have to eat constantly, and I literally just die when I get home. So thank you all for the support. Let's go ahead and announce my balance breakers. Rob the King, Lachlan Yates, Atomic Warlord 58, Crumbling Darkness Sphere, Mr. Wolf, Ant Lewis, The Beast YT3, Shade Fox, VR Wolf hashtag 2347, Jordan Patchow, Dr. MLG is the bomb, Asimodus, Grimfire Shot Gamer, Keep Saying 21, and That Round Guy. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker, which is the highest membership tier. Also, thank you to all my limit breakers. I see you guys. Trust me, I really do appreciate all the applause as well. Like, people donate in the comment section. It's kind of cool that YouTube implemented that. I really do appreciate it. Everything helps, so I just appreciate it. And if you guys want to see Dragon Ball What Ifs, go ahead and subscribe to my Dragon Ball channel, and it will be linked down in the description below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Chapter 42. Alright, training will begin tomorrow. You'll be going on a train with Rias, since I am focused to run errands with Grafia. The public is still skeptical about your presence, but they wouldn't do anything knowing that I exist. Today is also the day that you'll be promoted through taking the test, Sir Zex says. Giving Issei a quick hug and a peck on the cheek, Sir Zex disappeared through a magic circle, leaving Issei confused, not knowing what was happening. Things were going at speeds that he wasn't expecting to move at. Who's going to take me there? Issei says. Grafia appeared right beside Issei. I am going to take you there, Grafia replied. Grafia quickly lifted Issei. Being slightly taller and, more importantly, far more mature, she began walking away towards the magic circle that she had formed for this occasion. Today was going to be one of the largest days in the Underworld. Since the Devil's Civil War and the prevention of the Great War with Kokaville, the Red Dragon Emperor was finally going to show his true power to the Underworld. Those who will be in his path must be prepared for his wrath. Alright. I'll be making sure to carry you until you get there. Knowing you, a second of you moving around equals to a massive chance of conflict occurring, Grafia said. Issei began widening his eyes in astonishment. He wasn't going to be able to walk around freely because of the lack of trust in public that he had. He hadn't done much wrong beside angering the Phoenix family, fighting against two Satan-class beings and winning, fighting against a Satan-class matress's dragon a fair degree, and even surviving blasts from Sir Zex while she held back. Grafia, please don't do this to me, Issei says. Nope. You're always walking around with Sir Zex, allowing for her to have fun. Now, allow me to have my dream come true. Allow me to baby you until the next exam, Grafia says. Issei tried to leave, but Grafia was quicker and already left through the magic circle. Grafia had always wanted to be a mother figure to someone close. Issei was the perfect person to do so. She was going to take advantage of the situation to the fullest. She didn't have feelings for the boy, but she sure as hell wanted to be his new mother figure, especially when Sir Zex was not capable of being such a figure. Time skip. Alright, I have been given permission to give you the exam, Grafia says. The embarrassment that Issei had experienced while getting to testing room was massive. He was finally given the written exam. This time, he was prepared and knew what he was doing. Moving at speeds that no one expected, he was beginning to mow down the exam. Grafia was shocked at how prepared Issei was. Maybe Sir Zex wasn't such a terrible teacher. Alright, Dreg. Begin answering the logical question. These questions only require experience, and you have the most experience compared to nearly everyone I know. I got your back, partner, Drake says. Issei and Drake began doing the test. Issei's left hand was being moved by Drake while he was moving his right hand, while the test takes 30 minutes to complete. Issei had finished in 5 minutes and aced the exam. Partner, if you and I work together, there is nearly nothing that can stop us. Now that's what I'm talking about, Drake finished. While Issei and Drake were celebrating, Grafia was making sure that Issei had answered all the questions correctly. I can't believe this. You aced the exam. This is actually amazing. Now it's time for the true hardest part of the exam, Grafia said. Grafia quickly began dragging Issei. The administration gave their trust to Grafia. They knew that the Ice Queen was going to show no mercy at all. Even during the exam, Grafia gave no mercy to Issei, making sure that he would be given a harder version of the promotional exam. Now, since Issei was finishing with the written portion of the exam, this time for his practical exam portion was beginning. Usually, for full-bloods, they would have to trust of the public, since they would most likely have family members that were loved by the public. That made it easier to give the exam, since the public didn't need to fear for chances of full-bloods to betray them. However, that was different for reincarnated devils or half-breeds. These type of devils are usually the ones to turn to strays when in Parajas. Even if they have a valid point in betraying their masters, they still have killed innocent beings in the human world or the supernatural world. Arriving in the massive arena that was going to hold Issei's test, the arena was built similarly to one of the ancient times, similarly to the Colosseum, but the arena was filled with magic to enhance the walls around the arena. The magic inside of the arena was similar to what Sir Zex would use in a training room to make a room strong enough to handle the power of destruction. Taking a single step onto the massive circular platform in the middle of the arena, Issei could tell that this test was going to be interesting. The first time that Issei was going to fight in the arena was going to be his most important fight. The ranking in the supernatural, no, absolute most important fight. The world has truly changed since I have been alive. It makes the feeling of not having the ability to walk around freely far more difficult to bear. That damn Albion will pay, Drake said. Drake looked around to see the many beautiful paintings on the wall, showing the many accomplishments that the devils have done, from the darkest secrets, showing the tyrant Lucifer, demonstrating his absolute authority by standing on top of the flag in his hand whatever place he conquered, to someone more of the recent accomplishments with Sir Zex and Ajuka standing on top of a blood pile with their hands in the air after winning the devil civil war. Issei could feel the sorrowness that his partner was feeling, beginning to feel sympathy for the dragon. He was interrupted by the fact that this exam didn't make sense unless if the circumstances were going to be stretched to the insane degrees. There was something bizarre about this exam. The way they held the exam was far too weird, knowing the middle-class promotional exam would be breeze, since Issei was far too powerful for any middle-class being. However, high-class could be a problem if they restricted his sacred gear, but even if they did, only a few high-class could even challenge him. Issei, what I think they'll do is make an exam far more endurance type fighting. They will most likely want to make sure that you're a warrior prepared to fight any potential war, knowing that many enemies of devils, Elisha said. Elisha wasn't wrong, knowing that many enemies that the devils naturally have, and many enemies that he said in the Chaos Brigade, and a certain manic dragon roaming around wanting to fight him. That left the question, why were they hyping up the exam far more than it was actually going to be? There was no way that they were going to make the exam far more difficult compared to what Issei was thinking what might happen. They might potentially make Issei fight an entire army of high-class beings or many Parajas, maybe even an ultimate class being. While Issei was thinking of what he might fight, he didn't realize Grafia had left the area. Issei, can you hear me? Ajuka said. Ajuka spoke through the massive speakers that were planted on the side of the arena. Issei shifted his attention towards the man speaking through the speaker. For this test, the opponents you will be facing are the caliber of your power, Ajuka says, and that answered all the questions that Issei had beforehand. So, a high-class, ultimate-class beings was going to be the opponent for the young boy. Ajuka continued further, finally introducing the person that was going to fight against. Let me finally introduce you to your opponent. She has fought for many centuries. She has shown power like never shown before, being a woman that has fought alongside the Satans at the end of the Devil Civil War. She has known capabilities of a true Satan. You may have heard her name before, but let me welcome Grafia Lucid. Once Ajuka finished speaking, the massive doors on the perpendicular side to Issei began opening up. Issei was instantly hit by a massive aura of pure coldness slamming across his body. This power was even above the might of Grendel and Cocaville, the power of being that deserved respect. Grafia was preparing him for the exam minimal amount of time because of this. She didn't want him to know anything about her to make sure that he wouldn't have an advantage before the battle. She was going to show him the might of the Lucifer. But Grafia wasn't smiling, which was the true reason why Issei was beginning to feel a slight bit of chill running down his spine. Sorry, Issei, but I will show no mercy, Grafia finished. The two looked at each other directly in the eyes and knew the fight was going to be brutal. And that is the end of Chapter 42. Chapter 43. Ice Queen. Grafia immediately began powering up to a decent amount, while Issei instantly entered into the Welch Dragon Balance Breaker. Entering his mutated form, Issei began boosting. Boost times 10. Right when fighting boost was when Grafia launched her magical attack arrow pierced straight towards Issei. Backing away, he was expecting the arrow to at least bounce, seeing as though the attack was far away enough and easy to dodge. But the arrow instead exploded, creating all ice around it, freezing Issei in midair. He was already in a tough situation.
Partner, I'll begin heating your armor up. Just continuously boost. Don't even think about fighting her in the state with such little boost stored, Drake said.
Right when Drake finished his statement, Issei began feeling heat beginning to melt the ice. Boost times 5. Quickly, Issei sensed a powerful presence behind him. Acting on instinct, Issei decided to step right, taking his surroundings to see Grafia going back for a quick right hook, missing the attack and following through with a spin kick. Issei was barely able to block the attack with his forearm, shattering the armor that Issei had, widening his eyes from the force. He forgot of how much stronger Grafia was than him. Being shot straight towards the edge of the arena, Issei continued boosting. Boost times 5. Finally, when he was going to reach edge of the arena, Chaotic Night. Issei grabbed onto the ground and to slow himself down until he finally, with a bunch of force, stabbed his hand onto the ground to anchor himself, spinning around, using his arm a pull of some sort. Issei quickly countered a surprise attack from Grafia, who was right behind Issei to the end of the battle with another blow, but hitting the surprise Grafia, Issei's attack easily stunned Grafia for a few seconds. Taking the chance, Issei quickly appeared under Grafia. If the old Issei were to be here, when he could finally have immediately rendered useless from his hormones controlling his actions, but this Issei was relying on his evil dragon personality in these situations, forcing all of his power into his hand.
Maximum transfer.
Beginning to enhance his hand with all the power that he had stored during the fight, Grafia was still stunned from the blow, but she still widened her eyes to see Issei actually putting effort into the battle, something that caused a smirk to grow on her face.
Explosion!
Losing all the boosted energy while sending a massive shockwave straight at Grafia, attempting to launch her straight into the ceiling, wanting to end the battle. Since this battle inside of an arena, Issei thought that the ground wasn't the circular platform that was considered out of bounds, similar to some tournaments, sending the woman flying into the sky. Boost times 10. Taking the opportunity to try his best to recover the energy that he lost, he could tell that Grafia was holding back. Seeing through her eyes, she was still holding back because she didn't think that Issei would be able to handle it. This slightly angered Issei. His evil dragon side wouldn't be able to accept such, and his devil side was wanting him to take advantage of such a situation. Boost times 10. Grafia easily stopped herself in the air. Not bad, but you can do better, Grafia said, and she didn't even have a visible scratch. Instantly, with her immense magic, she actually froze the entire arena. Issei was able to use the heat from the help that Drake was giving him to melt the ice around him, but the magic was beginning to thicken.
Continue boosting. Enter your base evil dragon form at its full capacity. Aim for quickness and powering up instead of fighting back in this instance, Drake said.
Hearing the advice while watching Grafia beginning to form instant tentacles and wanting to grab Issei, Issei was beginning to hesitate in following through the ancient dragon plan, but every time that Issei would want advice, Drake's advice would always work. Sighing to himself, he hoped that the ancient dragon wasn't wrong. Boost times 10. Running around the slipper ice, beginning to break the ice and creating a smoke screen or a shared screen. Issei could tell that Grafia was beginning to manipulate ice, beginning to come closer to Issei's location. Spreading his dragon wings out, Issei flew in a zigzag direction, making sure to break the ice all around him, and his mass will have real effect to make sure that Grafia would have some trouble with finding him, even if she could pinpoint his presence. However, boom! Grafia herself caused the ice all around her to implode, sending the men flying into the sky. Grafia began motioning her hands into continuously hitting Issei, leaving the boy hopelessly blocking the attacks. Most of the attempts in dodging her were futile, beginning to slightly freeze in some parts of the skin. Even the help of Drake, Grafia's ice was still slowly overwhelming the heat. Finally, Grafia formed a massive ice hammer. Issei could tell that Grafia would instantly win the fight if she were to slam onto him. Boost times 10.
Juggernaut Rook.
Swiping with all of his might, Issei was able to create an opening for himself.
Chaotic Night.
Issei quickly slammed himself onto the ground while running around attempting to dodge the hammer that Grafia had planned for him. beginning to form a small condensed energy balls, coloring them black to make harder to see thanks to placing them between the cracks. Issei saw Grafia rocketing towards him. Slowing down, Issei quickly positioned himself while forming a small ball of domination. Right when Grafia was going to end the fight, Issei was able to stare directly into her eyes, giving her the cold icy glare that he gave everyone. The amount of darkness in Issei's eyes, of negativity, was immense. Grafia had become soft over the years. The dark and cold glare from Issei had caught her off guard, allowing for Issei to quickly throw a small ball of domination, mostly a ball created from the combined efforts of Issei and a small portion from Drag, and majority of the power from the boosted gear. Boom! Sending the woman flying away, Issei took the opportunity to fly in the air and began sending in her pure barrage of small spheres of darkness, the same ones he planted while running around. With a single motion of a click, the arena blew up. The entire arena. Boom! A bunch of booms. The explosion continued, breaking the entire icy arena into nothingness but a massive cluster of craters.
Partner, do you know this isn't going to do anything to the woman, right?
Drake said. She had the environmental advantage when casting her ice around the arena. I needed to destroy that advantage, Issei said. Boost! Times 5. He had reached his limit. Grafia was seen walking through the rubble with little to no visible scratches on her body. Her clothing was torn, exposing only her bra. She was expecting for Issei to begin blushing from the sight, but she was surprised to see Issei, beginning to get nervous. Not nervous about her body, but nervous about her immense power. This was a man that, when in serious situations, isn't afraid of showing that his hands are rated E for everyone. Grafia finally had enough and began blitzing straight towards Issei. She was satisfied enough with the fight, she began landing a series of combos.
Juggernaut Rook.
Issei was able to at least transform into his defensive form midway through the battle, but he was not expecting for the series of combo blows that Grafia was landing to instantly eradicate the armor that he was wearing.
Partner, hang on for a little bit. I'll try and recover the armor, Drake says.
Issei tried his best to block the blows and counter them, but each attempt that he tried proved futile. Beginning to become frustrated, Issei finally swung his hand with full force to be met with a bone-shattering blow to the side. Shattering of his bones, his ribcage was severely injured from the blow. Issei was quickly met with another blow straight towards his head. Sending him flying back, he was just a soccer ball, but what pissed Issei off the most was that Grafia was still holding back. Fuck off, Issei said, roaring with his draconic voice. Issei was able to slightly force Grafia to back away. Opening her eyes from the bright light, she finally began to see the same form that Issei used against Grandel. Floating in the middle of the air, Issei was seen in his first stage of evil dragon form, the Darkness Breaker. Some generic name that would work for now because Issei actually figures out the name for the form. Using the leverage of frustration and pain, Issei manipulated his emotions by doing so many times before he was able to tap on them once more. Futile hopes, Grafia said. And that is the end of Chapter 43. Chapter 44. Issei simply looked at the Ice Queen. Ajuka was having the time of his life watching these two duke it out while eating some popcorn. Suzex was coming soon. Issei had just had to make sure that he would last long enough because then the battle would be far more calmer with her around. There were advantages with Suzex around, but right now Issei had no advantages. I already have seen, Grafia says. Boost! Times 5. With even higher potential comes with even higher boost. Ducking under powerful punch, Issei was perfectly land a blow straight towards Grafia's side to ensure that she would be stunned from pain. Backing away while making sure that the plan worked, which it didn't, Grafia was already in front of Issei, easily freezing his figure with her ice magic. Shatter. However, in this form, Issei was able to generate his own flames. With that combined heat from Drake, Issei was easily able to handle the ice this time. Grafia quickly blasted Issei onto the ground. Finally, Grafia began using some of her most powerful attacks. Forming a massive ball of ice, Issei would have been terrified of the ball if he didn't have a solution. He may have been far too weak to deal with the ball normally, but this is where physics come in. Ice versus fire.
Partner, I have to say this, but the ice seems to be thick for regular flames, Drake says.
Issei already had a plan, sending the information of what he was going to do through the mental link that the two had. Drake began smirking, seeing Issei's brain actually getting smarter through the many random exercises that he would do during the time that Suzex would teach him things. Boost! Times 5. Maximum! Beginning to transfer all of the darkness surrounding into his hands, Grafia was amused by the weird pose that Issei was doing, but she didn't mind.
Drake, you ready? I'm ready as ever could be, partner, Drake says.
Issei finally begun pulling the two balls of darkness, ball of pure flames, together into a singular point. Beginning to enhance the output of the ball as much as he could, the power behind Issei's attack was massive.
Welch Annihilator Push-Up.
Taking a small ball of transferring into a huge cannon that Issei had on top of his body when entering the bishop form. Issei began scooping the area and saw that he could take advantage of the situation, stabbing his foot into the ground. Digging himself into the ground for some reason, it was catching Graffia's attention, which caused her to be confused with what Issei was doing. However, she continued pushing the massive ball of ice that she formed, and finally,
Flames of Insurrection.
in an instant, a supremely powerful thrust of flames began blowing straight onto the ball of ice. Issei's cannon began slowly breaking apart from sheer force. However, he had Dreg to support him with regenerating the armor, seeing as though the flames were doing nothing to be condensed of a ball of ice. Issei finally began finishing the attack by
Maximum Transfer. Explosion.
In an instant, Issei's entire armor shattered into nothingness while he dug himself deeper into the ground. His hands were now beginning to push the flames. His mouth was thrusting in the flames into the sky. His throat began burning from the sheer pressure, heat, and energy being released from the flames. Graffia began seeing the flames slowly beginning to melt in the ball of ice. She could sense her own attack beginning to shrink, pushing with her own power. They were two stuck in an equilibrium. However, that soon changed when Issei began pushing with every ounce of energy that he had. His plan wasn't to melt the ball of ice, it was to crack. The middle of the sphere began cracking from concentration of the flames. The force of the flames began slowly cracking to the center point of the ball, which was Issei's plan. This was only stage 1 of his plan. Crack. Issei knew that Graffia would push with more power, which is why he began digging himself into the sky with even more force, beginning to force himself deeper into the ground and make sure that he would have a strong enough base support to prevent himself from losing ground. Damn, this is far more powerful than I expected. However, Graffia said, Graffia began pushing with 2 hands instead of just 1. It's time to sleep, Issei. You already passed, Graffia said. Issei didn't accept such statement. He didn't want to lose, especially when he was so close in winning in this arena-style type battle. Issei continued pushing. Crack. The ball of ice was beginning to crack even further than before. Okay, Graffia began regretting holding back a massive amount. Pushing with more of her power, Ajuku realized that Graffia underestimated the power of not just Issei, but the power of Dreg as well, because, crack, Dreg was there supporting his partner throughout the battle.
Partner, the armor can't regenerate, Dreg says.
Issei, there is only one way to fighting through this. Continue fighting with all you have. Let your will and desire control you, Alicia says. Even Alicia was supporting Issei.
Use your gosh damn emotions. This is nothing. Compare this to the beating you received from Grendel and the result of the Berserker armor, Drake says.
Issei was beginning to lose his consciousness from the pain of burning his throat on his hands while losing all of his stamina. However,
get the fuck up, soldier. We have to win this battle, Drake says.
Once hearing Alicia and Drake, Issei began processing what they were saying. They were right. He could fight through this. This is baby play compared to what he had gone through. Crack, using his emotions, using his pain that he was going through. Issei began forming even more darkness around him, beginning to push back against the ball. He just needed an opening. Graffia finally pushing with one hand, but she finally serious about the battle. However, Issei's plan worked because shatter. The ball of ice finally shattered into a million pieces, leaving Issei and Graffia to withstand the massive explosion to come. Boom! Another cluster of explosions occurred, leaving Issei to withstand the many shards to cut him, while Graffia was sent flying back to avoid the shards, landing on the ground while covering herself with magical shield. Once the smoke finally cleared, Issei was left on the ground breathing heavily. That was actually impressive, Graffia said. Graffia looked at Issei with a smile. He was getting stronger alright, and he hasn't softened even with Sir Zex and him finally being a couple. But Issei was finally left with barely any way of getting up. Graffia was going to end the fight as she could, but
Issei won the battle by his opponent being sent out of the bounce, Ajuka says.
Wait, looking down, Graffia could see that she was indeed standing outside of the massive circular platform. That was when everything began coming to her. The attempts of pushing her towards the side. The attempts of blowing her away instead of trying to physically hurt her. The attempts of stabbing his foot into the ground for support. They were all a part of Issei's plan, while making sure to make Grafia unaware of his plan by putting all of it into the battle. He had outsmarted Grafia because he was able to take advantage of her having a soft spot in her heart for him, leaving her to fall to her demise to his plan. Issei began chuckling while coughing heavily. She lost from Issei's plan, and she thought that she was being harsh on him during the fight. This truly showed her that she has become soft over the many years. He actually won, Grafia said. Issei lost the fight, but won the battle. Fuck, that hurt, Issei said. A small shard of ice accidentally landed on him from the top of the crater that he purposely formed to prevent himself from being pushed back to push downwards.
Stop screaming, Drake said. Why not? It's fun screaming random crap. Scream again, and I don't even know.
Issei just looked at him.
Partner, don't even do it.
Issei's face just looked at him again.
Partner, believe I can fly. Damn it! That's it. I'm 100% going to whoop your ass in the mindscape.
And the two continued bickering while Grafia slowly approached the two with no visible scratches or marks on her. She had annihilated whatever Issei threw at her, but she didn't annihilate the match. And that is the end of Chapter 44. Chapter 45. Issei, Grafia said. Grafia crouched down near Issei's level. The crater that Issei purposely created was deep, easily nearing 100 feet deep. Grafia looked at Issei, who couldn't even shift his neck to look directly back at Grafia. She sighed, seeing that maybe she'd been a little harsh on the boy. But it was necessary to do so, and make sure that he was actually prepared for the promotion. Hey, Grafia, Issei says. She was wearing only a bra on top while her pants were at least intact. She saw while looking at Issei's damaged, bruised, and bloody body. His sides were showing invisible markings of his body freezing. She hated him seeing him in such a state, but it was all necessary to make sure that he would have an amazing future. She was really acting like a mother to Issei. She couldn't help it. Congratulations on your win. That was actually impressive, that you were able to fight against me while making sure to slowly power up to the longer the fight lasted. However, please try to best not to push yourself to such degree. I actually begin worrying when you begin doing bizarre poses and weird attacks that would potentially fail to block the huge ice ball that I threw at you, Grafia says. Grafia slowly began lifting Issei in a bridal position before looking at the little boy. Issei was slightly smaller than Grafia, chuckling painfully at the statement that Grafia told him. You know who I am. What's the point of trying to prevent me in what I do best, Issei says. Grafia sighed while finally reaching for her pockets. Pulling out a vial of phoenix tears, she began placing some of the tears into Issei's mouth. She saw as though Issei began finally losing consciousness from the adrenaline. She made sure to apply the least pressure on his injured points, now that she was understanding just how much their Zex has gone through when healing Issei. She had to give some praise to her, even if she despised praising that woman. Truly, Sir Zex has found a perfect man. Both are equally stupid while also being equally valiant, Grafia says. Issei slowly began feeling much better to the point where he opened his eyes to see Grafia look down upon him. Alright, time to see your results, Grafia said. Grafia casually said while humming a tune to herself while making sure out the entire crater. Issei was kind of left confused. Wasn't she going to let him talk on his own? He began slowly fearing that she was going to do the same thing that she did when she brought him into the place, where she carried him through all that were just watching him. Many looked in envy, both men for that he was being carried, and the horny woman that were wishing that they were lifting him. Grafia continued climbing the crater until she reached the top. Slowly, she began stopping while looking around the area. Maybe she just wanted to make sure that he would be alright, preventing him from climbing up the crater to make sure that he wouldn't suffer from fatal injuries. But Grafia began walking towards the exit of the arena. Wait, I can walk on my own? You know? Issei says. Grafia chuckled when hearing this concern, that Issei had when she was carrying him. It was one of the many reasons to why she wanted to do this. No wonder Suzek enjoyed doing this nearly all the time. It was enjoyable seeing the berserker that Issei was on the battlefield being reduced to someone being cautious about his surroundings and fearing the day that he would be embarrassed until no end. Grafia casually responded to Issei with little to no remorse in her voice. Yeah, I know, Grafia says. Grafia continued walking towards the exit, unfazed by her action and the squirms of the boy that she was holding. Issei tried the best to get out of the grip of the Ice Queen of the underworld, but he couldn't figure out a way to get out. She was literally too strong for him. Could you please let go of me? This is kind of... Issei says. I'm afraid I can't. Didn't I say that I'll be carrying you back to my house? Issei says. Grafia said. No, you never said anything like that, Issei replied. Issei wished he could enter his balance breaker form, but the amount of blood that he lost was beginning to affect him physically, preventing him to do anything into entering his balance breaker form. Even that, he didn't want to be able to escape the tightness of the grip that Grafia had on his body. Well, I basically brought this onto your body. Let me make responsibility, or at least taking care of the damage, Grafia says. Grafia continued walking. Issei decided to wait it out. Grafia wasn't doing anything necessarily wrong, especially when no one was actually in the building excluding them, besides Ajuka. Once making her way to the main room, he was met with Ajuka sitting down with a bowl of ice cream. He looked to see the two entering the room. Quickly, he threw the ice cream into the trash and quickly composed himself in front of the two. Coughing into his hand, regaining the attention of the two, Ajuka finally began speaking. Honestly, the results of the written blew my expectations. Usually, most devils fail the math portion, dealing with some of the more slightly advanced portions, but you seem to be well equipped before this exam. Suzek Lucifer may have been a better teacher than anyone I initially thought. She was always that woman that would give this facade of dumbness, but was far smarter than most, Ajuka said. Issei also realized the same thing when being taught by Suzek, that woman was far smarter than she let on about, easily being smarter than nearly everyone that he knew, besides Ajuka. Drake was far wiser than intelligent. Leaving that aside, Issei was glad that he blew the expectations of Ajuka in the written portion of the exam. That man was doubting his ability to do basic things from the very start. Moving on to the practical portion, weighing in your majority of the exam, I had expectations of you at least being able to handle a decent amount of Grafia's power. None of us were prepared for the sheer transformations that you had, seeing as though you made Grafia use some of her more serious attacks and began forcing her to take you seriously at the end. Needless to say, you blew my expectations once more, Issei Hyodo. Ajuka looked at the child in front of him with a smile on his face, approaching the child while beginning to take some documentation and results of Issei's exam. I hereby promote you to high class, Ajuka says. Let's go! You hear that, Drake?
I hear you loud and clear. My partner isn't a useless dragon, thanks to whatever lord that has blessed me with his partner, Drake says.
Grafia chuckled at seeing Issei's reaction. While he was still in her arms, he didn't know how much harder life was going to be for him. Well, one more important factor was needed to be set for this promotion to even happen. You see, I'm pretty sure you know how the old devil council is about half devils, or even being a full devil isn't blooded devil. They didn't accept the fact that you were being promoted to such a high class. Issei was slightly bummed out that the Old Devil Council were obviously against him. Not many liked the way the Old Devil Council ruled the underworld. Being even more influential than most devils, only a few beings were able to even compete with their power. Ajuka saw the smirk on Issei's face beginning to fade. That was when he began explaining the good news of his promotion. However, seeing as though the number of incredible feats that you have performed, they couldn't argue with the fact that you were deserving of high-class status. But to make sure that they would agree without the public being involved, seeing as though the majority of them would be against your promotion, we decided to postpone your Parage set until you promote to ultimate class or be able to deemed worthy of being publicly known as Sir Zex's husband. Not privately, but publicly. That was when a bunch of news being dropped onto Issei, seeing as though the Old Devil Council seems to be hesitant with promoting him due to the trust issues. Issei could significantly understand that, seeing as though it is similar to what the government in the human world. However, Issei was just excited knowing that he was finally high class. He was surely not prepared for Parage pieces. With that, I'll be leaving, Ajuka says, and in that instant, he left, leaving the two alone. Now, it's time for you to tell the news of your promotion to our king, Grafia says. Maybe taking a quick nap is worth it, Issei says. Issei was preparing to sleep. The blood that he lost from the battle was beginning to take over his body, leaving the vulnerable exhaustion, which is leading him to slowly falling asleep. Grafia sighed seeing the small boy sleeping. Seeing this troublemaker sleeping so peacefully makes you nearly forget all the things that he has been through. Sir Zex, you truly did the right decision of finally confessing to this dimwit. Walking away through a magic circle, the exam was finally over. And that is the end of chapter 45. And that is where we're going to stop for now, right at the end of chapter 45. Thank you so much for the support, and can we hit 500 or 600 likes once again? That'd be absolutely amazing. Also, thanks to all my balance breakers, obviously, once more. And my limit breakers too, you guys are some OGs, and as well as my Ultra Instinct boys. I appreciate all of you. I cannot thank you enough. Everything helps. So, what if Goku was too overpowered? What if Issei was betrayed in New Story? Then what if Issei was betrayed in Chapter in the Dimensional Gap? And what if Naruto was betrayed? Are all coming very soon. Just expect a bunch of new content very, very soon. And I'll try to pump it out as fast as I can. As you can tell, I'm kind of working right now, but thank you so much for the support. I can't thank you enough. It's been absolutely amazing. You guys know I like Dragon Ball, so I had to do a Dragon Ball What If. I don't care anymore. It has to come. I love Dragon Ball way too much to be able to not do a Goku What If. So, thank you so much for the support. Seriously, it's been absolutely amazing. And without further ado, before anything else, actually, if you guys want to see Dragon Ball What Ifs or just more Dragon Ball content, go ahead and subscribe over to my other channel, and Popowski. I might be changing the name soon. I don't know. You know what I mean? So, who knows? I like that name a lot just because it's OG to me. But without further ado, Spartanic. It'll be in the description, by the way, the channel, the Dragon Ball channel. Without further ado, Spartanic Arts DxD out.